All right, and greetings everyone. It is Max and we are back, and we're going to go through our checks and balances and all of the things to make sure it is running. And it looks like I have audio, so we are all good. Good evening, Darren. First one in the chat. Everyone remember, push the thumbs up thing, and that's how the old algorithm works. I'm sure you hear that in every single video on YouTube. Anyways, today we are joined. We got Eli is back again, and we, of course, have...
Hey.
And today we're going to talk briefly about our Great Reset conspiracy. If anyone is out there has heard of the Great Reset conspiracy or anything about that, I don't know. Have you guys heard anything about this Great Reset being a conspiracy? This crazy idea that they're resetting the economic system.
Right. Well, it's not great, maybe from their point of view, but yeah, I've heard a lot about it. I think we all have. I've studied it for about 5 years now, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it, especially with last year, whenever it came to the whole thing of, the finagling going on with the election and everything else. Yeah, whenever I just kept hearing that, oh, well, eventually the dollar's going to crash and everything else, it's like, that ain't no theory anymore.
Yeah, when did they start talking really seriously about the dollar crashing? Was that's been
inaudible for 10 years.
Well, yeah, by the people who are in the people who are in the libertarian camp with what's his name?
Yep.
Ron Paul, of course, Ron Paul's been talking about that for 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of, on Forbes.
On the wall. Yeah. Yeah. It's mainstream.
So this news is, this article is from the BBC, which people out there who don't know, this is basically the CIA for Europe. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's the PBS, BBC, all of their state-run, public-run, tax dollar organizations to put out your very weak sauce sort of propaganda. And they say, what is the Great Reset? Like they don't know. And how did it get hijacked into a conspiracy theory, right? So according to this article, they go through all the places where Great Reset is mentioned. Of course, we got, Satan Klaus. Yeah.
Ooh, Nazi guy.
Who wrote a book called The Great Reset, which describes exactly what they're doing with their plans. And it was a book that was written for all the people that are in the big club about what their wonderful plans are for everything, right? Yes. So is it a conspiracy theory? I mean, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
take the theory out of it? What does that leave you? The conspiracy fact at this point.
The conspiracy is the fact they wrote a book and they brag about it. Okay, that's the fact, and it is a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy by these guys.
All the time.
By these guys. So we want to look at whether or not this. We're going to fact check the BBC article as to whether or not this is, a conspiracy theory.
British buffoonery company.
We'll look up here, and we have Cooties 19 building blocks of the Great Reset. So as I had mentioned, I don't know how many times. Maybe not as often as I should have, but the reason that I am so heavy into cryptocurrency is because the whole plan behind Cooties 100% is this Great Reset and making your money worthless, wiping out people's 401ks and retirements and Social Security and go into the New Deal. Okay.
Redistribution of wealth.
So you have to find some way to preserve your wealth. And it's not going to be Federal Reserve notes with the little all-seeing eyes in your pocket. That is what is going on. So this article kind of just explains that. And this is from the World Economic Forum, where they brag about their Great Reset plans. It looks like a conspiracy. And this little graphic here, I don't know if it'll pull up or not, but this little graphic here is on one of the very first videos I did back when Cooties was first done in like February or March, somewhere in there, right in the beginning. I'm like, here it is, guys. Here's your great.
Look where
What do you got, Eli?
I was going to say, look at the curation, Georgetown University.
Jesuits.
Yep.
Yes, and this Georgetown University, and where the big key was to that was the Rockefeller Institute came out with their plan, and that for the whole thing that leads right into the Great Reset. And then the IMF, World Bank, and Federal Reserve came out and said they would fund the Cooties relief until 2025. That's it. Okay. We said this 2 years ago. Now, What do we have to say for 2025? Okay, now we have Pew Research Center. Experts say the new normal. We've all heard that, right? After the new normal. For what date do they say? 2025. Okay, so our little operation, our little conspiracy is going to run till 2025. It's already down in the cards, just like it was down in the cards for 10 years ago, written down as to how the whole thing would play out.
Sure.
And
yeah, Illuminati card game.
It's not a coincidence. We'll look at some of these. We'll look at some of these bullet points from. This is from the Pew Research Center. Now they have people. They didn't poll too many people. About 1,000 people that they polled from all different walks of life. But these people, the respondents foresee significant change that will worsen the economic inequality. Right. As if it's not bad enough already, with the top 0.001% owning everything and everyone else. And it's funny because we see that in America, yet we still have it pretty good, where even the slaves, we're still actually we have cable.
Well-to-do service. No doubt, man.
No. Enhance the power of big technology firms. Like that's not going on. Multiply the spread of misinformation. Oh no.
Can't be a free
all of these things that they're worried about. Inaugurate new forms aimed at racial justice and social equality. So we got our woke culture. It's been right there coming on up. Enhance the quality of life for many families and workers. Really? What's the metric on that, you think? Produce technology enhancements. Yes, the New World Order coins and all of those things.
Right.
We go to the next article here is from Elon University. The new normal, again, different place in 2025. The new normal. Now, this research took me about 5 seconds to find.
Sure.
So for anyone of you out there who's wondering about, if all this stuff is connected with cooties and with the Great Reset talk and the economic collapse and all of that, and it's all just one big coincidence, and everyone just happens to be picking these dates, just coincidence. No, this is all a planned thing. And because it's a planned thing, it makes it very easy to prepare and hedge yourself a little bit and set yourself up so that you're one of the ones that are, doing pretty good.
Right.
Because if you're just going along to get along and not keeping your head up and kind of keeping aware of what's going on around you, you're going to be on the train. Yes. You'll be in line.
To the FEMA camps.
Mm-hmm.
Headed on the line and the train. And I don't think
day for me.
I don't think that personally that we're going to have the FEMA thing going on here. It's going to be a voluntary, people out of work and people need a place to go. Like they already have tent cities and stuff in California. Yeah, I don't know. We all have different ideas about that, and we can talk about that. As we get through the articles, we can talk about that. But some places, you look at Australia, could be America. Who knows?
Test ground.
I'm more worried about the health impact of cooties and what they're sticking people up with than I am about the economic system.
Me too.
So in this one only had 1,000 respondents too, but about 47% said life will mostly be worse for most people in 2025 than where it was before cooties. Well, I can pretty well, for most people, I would say most people, yes. But you know what? The people who listen to me and listen to Jack and listen to Eli and the people who know what's going on and have how long, Jack, have you been studying the conspiracy sort of back alleys?
I was about 12, 13.
There you go.
Old.
Very experienced handler we have here. And, I myself have been looking into this stuff at least since 2010. And yeah, it's kind of like we're too early. And now we see it coming. 39% said life would mostly be better for most people. These are the people in line, right? These are the people in the cooties line.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
These are probably people who are very close to retirement in that age. Who figure that by 2025 they'll be retired and they'll be living on their non-existent 401ks. I don't know. 14% said life in 2025 will not be much different. Well, if you're spend most of your time doing frivolous, meaningless things, and you don't really care about anything other than just doing your job and going home and watching Netflix, playing video games, and really not doing much with yourself, your life won't change. Won't change at all.
Yep.
Probably be on some form of UBI, and you can buy your ramen noodles, and it's enough to pay for whatever video game you want to play, and
So calm.
that's going to be fine.
So
Oh,
common,
good
ramen
game.
noodles. What more
Yeah.
does a man need?
Hey, you know,
Nowadays it's Call of Duty.
some
Oh,
people
don't
are,
ever bring that up around me, please.
yeah, some people are happy and fine to do that, and that's whatever. But I'd like to
Damn,
think that
that's sad.
that's not the Christian people who understand they're put here for a reason, and they're here to use their talents
Absolutely.
and
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
spread the gospel and do all,
Show the
you know,
light.
do something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. We're children of the light, so that's what we got to do.
You got it, man.
I thought I had another article up here, but I guess I don't. So we've got the 2025s up in here, and we got our World Economic Forum, and everyone's labeling it a great reset and the new normal. So what do we think? Is this a conspiracy theory that's just all blowed up and there's nothing to it, or no? This is
Well,
what's
it's
going
obvious. It's been pain. They've spoke about this for 60 years.
on. Yeah.
This is well old. Goes back to the Committee of 300. I can speak about this stuff for days, but at the end of it, it's Lucifer, the fallen one, Satan now. He's in control. He's a little g god of this world. He's got minions that work for him. That again, it goes
Exactly.
back to the royal family and that royal bloodline.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there's a lot in between that, but most of us get that. It's Ephesians 6:12. There's a lot of scriptures that cover it.
Mhm.
The Lord woke me up to those passages years ago, and I'm like, oh, this stuff is literal. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially whenever I got saved, that it's where the Lord started to show me that it's like, oh, well, when they say that all roads lead to Rome, it's like, why is it that the Illuminati, the Jesuits, and all the rest of them all connected with the Vatican? It's like, now I know why.
Yes, sir. Knights
That's why
Templar
we're
and
in
the
a
rest of
war.
it.
That's why
Yeah.
we're in a war every 20 or 30 years.
Bingo, man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the.
Population, money, and control. You know, the military-industrial complex.
Do you
Yep.
think they're going to do the war thing now again, or?
Yep, they're going to do it with Iran.
I don't
Think
know.
so?
I think I'm on the fence about that. I think that's more of an audible. There could be some truth to that. I mean, all bets are off at this point to me, because it's a Twilight Zone episode. But from what I get out of it, it's like the war, as far as World War III, is not traditional. It's contemporary now, but people can't see it because I go back to that fifth generational warfare. It's all psychological. We're in
Yeah.
the middle of it now. That's what I would argue, but that's just my perspective because of what you see taking place and shape right now. They don't have to press a button for anything. Why? There's no soldiers even necessary to be placed on the ground at this point.
Well, that's but you want people to be out there. Otherwise, how are you going to get rid of people?
Well,
So
then
I saw I saw that when they're having like, we could just have giant robots fight each other for wars and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that ain't the point. That ain't the point. No, the point is to go have people in there. I don't know. You get in.
Yeah, no doubt.
If all of this stuff actually would lead to a world war, then that's the imminent coming of Jesus, right? So
sure.
Yep, amen.
it's kind of like cheer it on, woohoo. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of them are actually promoting it. They're trying to speed it up because they've been fooled by Satan and these secret societies.
I was thinking more along the lines of just America going after somebody, or
yeah,
because right now China and Russia are breaking away from having to listen to what America says about anything, and
sure,
well, good for Russia.
even though everybody is all kind of buddy, the political front is that everybody's enemies, right?
Right.
So
right.
you'd be like, don't you mess around with Hong Kong, China, or we'll come over there,
Yeah, maybe a little skirmish here and there. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But you make a good point too. So I mean, it's like Eli said, every 20 years or so.
Yeah.
Every 200 to 400 years, there's a global or plane reset. But who knows? Who really knows? It's all up in the air at this point. But it's all about control and confusion.
Yeah.
And that's the psychological part. Go ahead, Eli.
I was just going to say that, the reason I mentioned that of Iran is because since pretty much the majority of that of the Middle East is considered that of Sunni Islam, and of course that of Iran is considered Shia Islam, and they ultimately want to have their one world type of caliphate within that, which the Sunnis are really controlled by the Vatican and everything
Bingo.
else.
Absolutely.
And so if they get rid of the Shia Muslims, then they can have their little caliphate. That's why they would have the U.S. go in, or British forces go in there and then basically try to overthrow the country like what they wanted to do in 1953.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know, that's something
The
I've
big-
heard about for a long
The big
time. So maybe,
stickler problem that I see that is going to be happening though is with a lot of these places are controlled by money, and if
Well, I was
fiat
just gonna say,
currency
right?
if fiat currency isn't worth anything, and
Well, more
things like Bitcoin exist, you got kind of a problem. You already have countries that are taking off and just going to use Bitcoin. They're not going to go to war.
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if these countries that they tried to invade, it's like they all of a sudden took Bitcoin?
Well,
Exactly.
all the
You know?
ones that they're trying to invade are on Bitcoin. Iran's doing Bitcoin.
Really?
I didn't
Yeah,
know
they're
that.
not.
Didn't know
Iran's
that.
not using Bitcoin as their currency, but Iran is using Bitcoin that they're doing their oil trades and everything with, because they have sanctions.
Interesting.
Same thing with Russia's. Russia has the same sanctions on it that Iran has, I think. And so Russia's
Oh.
just has their own system that they use to trade with China and trade with everyone else. It's that
Right.
the SWIFT system.
Right.
Yeah, is their economic sanctions, right? So Iran's kicked off SWIFT. Russia's kicked off SWIFT, and I'm not sure about China. But the Saudis are selling their oil to Russia and all these different places for like Bitcoin. So
Yeah, I think China pretty much primarily trade in body parts. So
yeah,
their money's
China's
pretty
got
strong.
deals
yeah.
for their yuan, which I thought was very surprising. Where
Yeah,
like
no
dollar
kidding.
must be pretty bad if the Saudis will take the yuan for their oil.
Yeah, isn't that why most of these business guys always have to watch the China markets?
Yeah, well,
Let 'em do
you
it.
know, we can talk about what's going on in, it's not China technically, but it is China, right? It's Hong Kong stock market. Hong Kong is where all of everything happens.
Right.
Hong Kong, Taiwan are where all the chips for the world are made. They have a pretty big market there, and Evergrande is their big player that does all of the housing stuff, kind of like Freddie and Fannie or Bernie and whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever
Fannie
it
Mae,
is
Freddie
for
Mac.
Fannie
Yep.
and Freddie Mac. Okay, so that's
Correct.
what Evergrande is to China, and they had a big they couldn't pay their credit card bill, right? So they're $300 billion in debt because companies under fascism, like the world is kind of all under fascism. I mean,
Yay.
they're technically communist, but all that means is that the state owns all of the businesses.
That's it.
So it's still fascism.
Right.
Yeah.
They're kin cousins, no doubt.
What ends up happening is all of these companies, they just borrow money to pay their bills and keep borrowing and keep borrowing and keep borrowing and racking up more debt. And as long as they have enough revenue to make the minimum payment, they're good.
Yep.
And that's what it's because debt, you know, the interest rate's been going down and down and down ever since 2008. And it's when you can borrow money cheaper than what the inflation rate is, there's no reason not to do that. And that's what a lot of companies in America do. And that's what Hong Kong does. But you can't keep that up forever.
No.
It's like
Money
once
printer.
once you raise the interest rate 0.25%, the entire thing falls down.
Yep.
And so all of these places here in Hong Kong are going to get bailed out by China, and they're going to inflate their currency. America will probably bail them out because they'll be too big to fail. And next thing you know, the Americans will have to pay, in theory, to bail out Hong Kong. And
it's all a Ponzi scheme.
Right. This affected the American markets too. And yeah, it's all a Ponzi scheme.
Money printer go brrr.
Yeah. And that's not by
ones and zeros, man.
It's partially because they have to do it, but it's also was the plan, right? It's also the plan. The plan is to inflate the currency, make it worthless, and make people beg, government, please help me. Government,
I want to own
please.
nothing and be happy.
Government, please. And we have the old Hegelian dialectic. Of course, they create the problem, and then they swoop in and go, "Oh, we got a better system,
solution for you."
Right, just like the problem where they didn't have enough gold to pay out to people, so it's like, well, we'll just go off the gold standard. It's just temporary.
And there's tons of it. There's plenty of gold. There's no shortage on that.
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, they
there
got
was
tons of it.
there was at the time, because apparently, America
He
doesn't
who
believe in
controls it. Right, right. Gold
the
standard.
at this moment, the Vatican controls most of it.
You
but-
got it.
Yeah, most of it
Absolutely.
through their Knights of Malta.
Yep. Bingo, man. I hear you.
and but now we
You
have
know what's
digital.
up, man. I hear you.
Now we've got digital gold. So
Yay.
now we've got that.
I'll take a
And
digital ounce or two of that.
yeah, here's the thing, when we're talking about the
that.
Great Reset and hedging for the future and trying to preserve your wealth and your assets, you want to buy things right now that, some things, look out for things that you need that are from China, because the prices are
Right.
going up like
Ridiculously.
crazy.
Yes.
And I talk about this all the time, and I'm a price change guy, and your food is going up 10-15%. It is. Last Monday I had to hang 1,100 tags. Okay. In a small grocery store in a town of 5,000 people. I had to hang 1,100 tags. And the day before that, I hung 1,100 tags.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Why
That's
must you torture us?
That's all in all, that was like probably 12 hours worth of straight hanging tag work.
Man.
No sitting down, hanging tags, all raising prices.
But
all right.
crypto money, man. It's crypto money.
Right. So with the money you have, and right now the market is very low because of this problem that is going on in Hong Kong. September is historically a very weak for investments. Everything kind of crashes in September. It has some things to do with astrology and whether or not that's a real thing, or whether or not the people, I mean, I think there's probably something to it because it's all God stuff, and how all that works. But
oh yeah, no doubt.
Regardless if there's anything to it really or not, the people who are behind the scenes with the economy and everything and all the bigwigs, they all believe in this stuff.
Sure.
So things tend to coincide with these, whether or not it's people doing it or it's just part of the way it works in the system and electromagnetic fields and how everything works. I don't know. But right now is a fairly decent time to enter into the market and preserve some wealth in Bitcoin. I'm not saying about any other coin that's out there. Sure, there's some other ones that are good, but Bitcoin is going, everybody is, when your dollars aren't worth anything, what else are you going to do? You have to go into gold, you have to go into silver, or you have to go into Bitcoin. Now, of the three, which one can you move? If you need to sell your house or you need to move someplace, you need to, whatever happens.
Freedom seeds.
How easy is it to lug around your gold? And how secure is your gold can be taken from you? And there's nothing wrong with gold. Is cheap right now. They're keeping that market down to make sure that people don't realize how much their dollar is not worth anything.
You know it.
But then there's also Bitcoin, which anywhere that you go, any place that you go, you will always have access to it. And there you go. Just saying. Just sign up on an exchange somewhere so it's at least available to you should you need to do that. And the other thing too, you think, is just to even have an exchange available to you is so if you need to send money to somebody, you can just buy some cryptocurrency and send it to them, and you don't pay any fees, anything. All right. There's a lot more to it than investing or anything else. You can use it just as a currency. Trust me, in the next couple of years, some people are only going to take something like Bitcoin. If you need to hire a contractor to do your roof or something, and depending on the state of affairs and how the dollar fluctuates or whatever, they may only take crypto. There are people right now that will only take crypto for consulting and things like that. There are people that insist on being paid in crypto, aka rich people. Like the professional athletes insist on crypto. There's tax reasons for that too, but it is worthwhile to know a little bit about it and understand that the money that you have been saving and keeping and save for the future has always been kind of the motto for a long time. And it's like, boy, I don't think that has actually been true in 20 years, if not longer. And that's not something that I came to that conclusion. It's just more like doing research in the last year or two and figuring out where things went. Is that, man, really spending money and living on debt was kind of the way to go and the way the system was set up. But that is a system designed to fail. And now it's time to take your cheap money and the stuff they want to give you and put it into hard assets and buy
And people
food
are
when it's
starting to take
cheap.
their cash out of the bank quickly, since the new directive came down as far as the IRS being able to be a spy. I believe it's a $600 mark.
Yeah,
Here we
$600.
Yep, that's crazy. So I keep just a minimum amount to, pretty much pay for what I have to. That's
Yeah.
auto deducted every month, and that's it. The rest of it, I'll take it out. It's like you just said. It's back to the 40s, 50s. I've got a mattress with a hole in it. So
Can you believe that? And when the money laundering laws were put into place during the 1920s, I think, where you have Al Capone and these guys were running drugs and running alcohol and liquor, and this is where these laws come into place, where if you're depositing or taking out more than $10,000 back in 1920, what is that, like $1 million today?
yeah,
right?
a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they've kept that law on the books and been using that this entire time, as $10,000 isn't really much of anything. It's hard to buy a car for $10,000.
No doubt.
Right. That's
Right,
not
yeah.
even most people. That's like maybe a couple of months pay, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But back in the 20s, it's like people would work a long time to see $10,000, and that's when the law was implemented. And now they're going down to $600. That's not even a paycheck.
Yeah. And what's really strange is that when you have, like you mentioned with Al Capone and them, then whenever in 1934, when they passed a certain unconstitutional law, making it to where if you wanted to buy a machine gun or whatever, you had to pay a $200 tax stamp directly to them. $200 would have been like, what, a month's salary?
Probably.
A couple of grand, no doubt.
Probably in the 20s.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But again, it's a system that we've allowed because we've become complacent. And people have very short memories. We're checks and balances. We are the government. People have been taught differently. So that's where we're at. Because all I hear is this one word, and it just I shiver when I hear it. Oh, it's democracy. No, it's not. They gave us a republic, people.
Representative republic.
Amen.
Yeah, well, it's easy nowadays where you can point out the people who don't think very much, and it's just sad to see that there's so many of them.
NPCs just everywhere.
Oof, there's a roll on, yay, communism.
Yeah, and then they just cry, Orange Man bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just sick.
What's worse than that, though, is the people that are the conservatives thinking that he's coming back.
All right.
And it's like, well, would you want him back?
Nope.
He was here at the beginning of the cooties thing,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did push him again. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either. That's just how deluded people are. He's not our savior. The Lord said, put no faith in no man. No trust. It's a system. I get it. If people want to vote, that's fine. I come to that particular truth years ago. Max knows where I stand on that. I agree with him wholeheartedly on that system. Now, on a local level, that's a little different.
Yeah,
I
or
can
state
respect
level.
that. Right. But as far as the big, if it hadn't been proven in the past 20 years that it's all rigged, then again, where's people's discernment? And that's just, it is what it is, man. It's all corrupt. It's all rigged.
That's why with most of these, I don't know if it's probably been like even since, I'd say probably even since 1964, when of course, up until then, it's like, after that, presidents were basically selected, not elected.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it was Eisenhower's the last guy in there. He's like,
no, Kennedy was.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I guess it was. He didn't make it very far, did he?
My dad knew Eisenhower. He was actually friends with him.
Oh, Eisenhower's up there going, yeah, well, you got the military industrial complex and the medical industry. You got all this stuff. You guys got to watch out for that. He's bye.
Yeah. Dad used to talk about that when I got older, man. I told you about that. He worked for the underground Pentagon.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, man. He did some subcontract work with NASA. So he really had some interesting stories about a lot of that.
Yeah. Whenever my dad was talking with my grandfather long before he passed, because he was in, I think, like the Army Reserves, and he also dealt with like ballistics and stuff like that. Okay. And whenever he asked him about with the Kennedy assassination, and he was just like, like, do you think the whole thing of like that Oswald did it? He goes, there's no flipping way that a bullet goes like this or that and everything. No, they covered that thing up.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting that they came out with the movie.
Yeah.
And that basically said it was all a lie. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? You just boasting? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you can look up the video from the James Files guy who was in Joliet prison, and he actually had the paper signed by Oliver Stone there.
Yep. Fact.
Because we were talking about the $600 thing, and everybody, see, here's why people don't. I mean, obviously, I'm already out there in a limb when I say you got to buy Bitcoin, but when I say don't use banks,
They're gonna come get you.
people are going to be like, oh, now he's lost it. It's like, look, I haven't really had to use a bank for a long time, and
I didn't for 15 years.
It
was tough,
like,
but you learn ways,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you could. What I mean by that too is you have a bank account, you just don't keep anything in it.
Bingo.
And then when you need to pay bills, you put the amount of money in there to write your checks to pay your bills.
That's it.
Right.
And that's how you roll.
Right.
I put money into my bank account and then it immediately goes to the crypto exchange.
You got
and
it.
that's it.
I have two cards too, Max. That's it.
And so I don't know. That's what I have to say on that. But Darren Dillon brings up that the U.S. government's trying to regulate crypto, and it's like, yeah, they can try. Okay, here's the thing too.
Good luck.
Yep.
Here's what I mean by hard assets. All right, and tangible assets. I talk about gold and silver. Of course, it goes back thousands of years and all this stuff, and it's biblical money. And yes, people can take it from you. People cannot take your Bitcoin from you. Not anybody. No government on the planet can stop Bitcoin. Nobody can stop Bitcoin. It's been tried and proven
right.
for
because I didn't believe that either.
11, 12 years now. People have, attacked Bitcoin.
Yep.
And it's still going. All of the miners, over 70% of the mining activity that needs to take place for Bitcoin to do transactions and for new blocks to be created for Bitcoin, over 70% of that existed in China. And it was just a couple of months ago, they all got one day, instantly, all got kicked out of China.
Yep.
Now, the mathematical formula and the hash rate for Bitcoin dropped severely, dropped 70% because of the miners. But Bitcoin continued on without missing a beat. Okay, the price dropped as a result of that. But Bitcoin itself and the actual methodology of transacting and doing what it does and existing on the blockchain, nothing stopped, didn't pause, kept right on going. And it's because it's so decentralized and nobody owns it.
Right.
There is no Bitcoin company. There's no Bitcoin company. People own nodes. There's thousands upon thousands of nodes. I think 10, 15,000 nodes all over the world. And you can't shut them all down. If only one exists, if Bitcoin exists on one person's computer, it doesn't matter if you turn the internet off. As soon as you turn it back on, there's Bitcoin again. It cannot be
encrypted algorithm.
Right.
It
cannot
took me
be
months to look into it. Look, Max convinced me because I was hardcore against it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He'll tell you that because I was that same guy that was like, wait a minute.
I was that guy too.
Right. They're
Yeah.
going to use this against us. Okay.
Right.
There's always that potential. Which system do you want to go with? Which
Right.
one is more secure? Which one actually has potentially more intrinsic value based on something?
The thing is with Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. Nobody owns it.
That's my
Okay.
main point.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if some guy owns a whole bunch of Bitcoin. He can manipulate the markets maybe a little bit, but so what? He doesn't have any more ability, any more control over me than anybody else who owns Bitcoin.
That's right.
The governments cannot stop Bitcoin because VPNs exist, decentralized exchanges exist. I can go to El Salvador. El Salvador is more than happy to take my money.
Yep.
Okay. Soon it's going to be Mexico. Soon it's going to be Brazil.
Costa Rica.
There's a whole bunch of countries right now who are just watching El Salvador, watching what problems that El Salvador runs into that they can try to avoid when they launch it themselves. So this whole idea of especially like Bitcoin being the mark of the beast and this and that, and it's like, no, the stuff you're using right now is the precursor to the mark of the beast.
So
this phony baloney system with the all-seeing eyes on it.
But it says Bitcoin, in God we trust.
the only negative thing about Bitcoin, that the only thing about it is if somebody it's an anonymous way to transact, but it is not a perfectly private way to transact, which is a good thing in my opinion. But anyways, if someone really wanted to, or you gave someone your address, they can find out how much Bitcoin you have in that particular wallet. And the solution is have many wallets. There you go.
Yeah,
Right.
like a Trezor or a Ledger.
Yep.
Yeah, have several wallets and for different transactions. But the point being is, even if you lost, your computer blows up, or you lost your hardware wallet, your actual Bitcoin or cryptocurrency exists on the internet. It does not matter that your computer blew up. It does not matter you lost your Trezor.
Encryption code, you're good.
You have your 12 or 16 seed phrase. You can go to any application that has access to cryptocurrency, and you can type in your seed phrase, and there's your wallet with all your stuff. So there isn't any way that the government can deal with that. And they're a little bit, it's like you've got your divergent culture here. You're going to have the people and the commies who want to live in the big cities, and they'll own nothing and they'll be happy, according to Satan Klaus. And then you're going to have the outliers who will be using their own money, and it could be Bitcoin, right?
And Max beyond Thunderdome.
It could be Bitcoin, or it could be something else, or you could have your gold and silver, or whatever you want to. But that is what is out there. Now, there are other cryptocurrencies that are vying to be the new world order coin. They are trying to be, hey, look at me, Satan. I got a pretty good new world order coin, right? It's the same technology, but it's a totally different purpose. Bitcoin was created, in fact, after the 2008, when the government bailed out all these corporations that failed. And stuck the taxpayers with the bill. Bitcoin was created. It's part of the very first block of Bitcoin in there, with the newspaper article that says Fed bails out such and such company, and basically bails out Wall Street. And that is why Bitcoin is here. And that's what it is. Now, not all cryptocurrencies are created the same. So anyone who doesn't know about this stuff, just look at Bitcoin. There are, like I said, there's a lot of new world order coins out there who say, who are all up trying to get the government contracts, trying to enslave people, because that's what they want, you know.
You better believe it. Useless eaters, just be a serf, man, and bow down.
Yeah, I think it'd be US dollar coin.
US dollar coin is actually a real thing, and that is a stable coin by Coinbase. And there's nothing inherently wrong with US dollar coin. The government, we talk about regulation. Stable coins are a coin that when you're trading on cryptocurrency, and we'll say your Bitcoin goes up by $5,000 and you want to sell your Bitcoin, but you don't want to bring it into actual US dollars into your bank account and incur taxes and all this stuff. You can put it into a stable coin, which holds the exact same value as a US dollar, right? Except it's still on the exchange, and you know, it's easily transactable. Now you could take these US dollar coins and say you could send those to somebody in Mexico and not have to pay any wire fees. And you can pretty much, it's as good as a dollar. So you can pretty much buy anything with a US dollar coin that is not minted by the Federal Reserve. It's something that Coinbase made. Now, Binance has a Binance coin. Tether, there's a Tether coin. There's all of these coins that are stable coins, and the government probably will crack down on those because they're direct competition. There is no reason to use Federal Reserve notes. None. They already exist in stable coins. So just use that. It's like, you better believe when Amazon's rolling out, or is it PayPal? PayPal is rolling out where you can buy crypto on PayPal.
They
in Europe
the card
right
2
now.
months ago.
Sir. So there is no question that when Amazon does this stuff, you'll be able to have a stable coin and be able to buy with stable coins. At that point, zero reason for a bank. None. There is no reason ever. Is your bank giving you any interest? No.
None.
Guess what? You get 6-7% on a US dollar coin. Okay.
Bingo.
So yeah. And that's the world of crypto. And that's it. The government's going to regulate your on and off ramps and all of these things that they'll try to do. But again, decentralization is coming to where you're not going to have a corporation to go after like Bitcoin. They can't do anything to Bitcoin because there's no corporation to go after.
Exactly.
And
all I've been hearing for the past 6 months about this, and I know it goes back further, but it's interesting. It's like, oh, you're alt-right. they're the new terrorist. Okay, well, anybody is. I mean, my God.
Oh, right, right.
It's just
People-
like,
Oh
you
boy.
tied your shoe wrong today. Get it.
negative-
Who's a terrorist? Okay.
The negative things you're going to hear about cryptocurrency in general from, of course, the opposing faction, right?
Sure.
We're going to hear from
Art of
Satan
war.
himself.
Right.
Basically, is that Bitcoin is used to traffic to pay for criminal activity. Well, that would be really
believe
dumb because you can track the transactions for Bitcoin right
Right.
back to the individual wallets. So that would be really stupid to do that. Number one. Number two, all of those things are based in US dollars that is actually used for crime and stuff. So
You got it. You got it.
if anything, you want your criminals to use Bitcoin because it's completely trackable. So that one's out. The other one you hear a lot is that Bitcoin uses too much energy. When the truth of the matter
Yes.
is that running your
off.
Christmas lights at Christmas time in America uses more power than Bitcoin.
Not
Okay.
mine. I use LEDs.
Go
Yeah, they
ahead.
say Bitcoin mining uses more power than the entire country of Belgium, and it's like, yes, the Christmas lights in America use more power than Belgium,
Yeah.
just for the running your
believe it.
Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Okay,
My neighbor
so-
alone does that.
Right. And there's 300 million people in America, and a lot of people do Christmas lights. And during that period, it uses more power than the country of Belgium. Number two is that Bitcoin is mostly renewable energy because your profitability as a person who mines Bitcoin is based entirely on the power of your, what your energy cost is.
Right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to find wasted energy, right? All these places who are producing too much energy, and then you bring your mining operation there. So all this energy that would be wasted, you are now using.
Laws of
They're
entropy.
using, solar and wind power in
Ooh.
Texas, things like that.
Sure.
So those are the
Ooh.
big ones.
I just thought of something.
Here we go.
Okay. You know how there's usually a lot of that black budgeting that's going on within the defense departments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what if they were to do that same thing with like their own form of crypto with that as well?
Well,
So that way nobody can track theirs.
Well, they're buying Bitcoin, and the reason that they're not going to use a lot of these cryptos that are currently out there that are vying to be the new world order coin, they're not going to use them because why would they give up
Tracking.
control?
Right.
Yeah, they want something that they build that does exactly what they want to do. And there's no reason, like Rothschild is not going to let XRP, for instance, be the new world order token. It's just not going to
Absolutely.
happen. It's going to be a Rockefeller
Right.
coin, if anything, right?
Yep.
It's not going to be some couple of guys who came up with XRP. It's just not realistic. They're going to have their own thing, and it's going to be called a central bank
Jesuit
digital
coin.
central bank digital currency, which is the same thing, right? And
Right.
all it is going to be crappy fiat that they can print as many as they want and just do the same thing that they're doing now, except track every individual transaction. And every time that you give your kids their allowance, the tax man takes the money right out. As soon as you
Yep.
bump the phones to theirs, the tax man takes the money.
Yep.
You buy something at a garage sale, the tax man takes the money. You weren't a good boy on social media, the tax man, comes in there and turns your wallet off and says that you're going to get a couple $100 less Rockefeller coins because you said something bad on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. That's where we're going.
The smart
And
cities.
if you don't want to live in that system, you better figure out where you're going to keep your money and how you're going to keep your wealth. And also, in preparation for that, knowing that is where it's coming, and the Bible kind of talks about that too, guys. So,
Oh, you think?
knowing that this stuff is coming, look at like deals and look at capturing wealth and the things that you need or know that you want. Look out for deals and things that you think are going to increase in value, and learn some skills and stuff, man. Learn
Yes,
about
absolutely.
cryptocurrency. It's learn about crypto. Even if you don't buy any, you have to learn about cryptocurrency. Have to, because the world is going there. You need to know. You don't want to be like nobody knows what the dollar is all about, right?
Right.
You don't want to be in that to where there's such a tangled web to figure out how the dollar is worth anything after, what is it, 50 years of nonsense after Tricky Dick.
Right.
After Richard Nixon went off the thing and the banks no longer have to have any reserve or anything like that. Everything is just off the rails. It's all fraud, 100% fraud. All of the monetary system is fraud. So, just figure out some crypto and figure out how that stuff works. And, so as far as regulations and things like that, that's their job. Everyone has to feel validated by making some dystopian law. Who can make the most dystopian law? That's how they get their kudos brownie points from the New World Order.
Yep.
Yeah.
You better know it, man. Cat and mouse.
So yeah. Anyways, if you want the best entry points and stuff, and with the lowest amount of risk for losing stuff, is not a bad time to be in Bitcoin. It could go down a little bit more, but as opposed to waiting for 2 months from now when Bitcoin's probably $60,000, you're probably
I
a little
panic
bit.
bought this morning, like I told you.
Yeah, I bought some too.
There you go.
Time to splurge.
Well,
Yeah.
sort of yes and no. If you have money to spend, we call it dollar cost averaging. And if there's the things you want to buy, you say you have $500, you do like, okay, well, I'm going to buy some. So you put $50 in. And then you want to look at the market in an hour or something like that and see where it's at. And if you want to put more in, and then look at it the next day, and then look at it the next day after that, because, price could come down.
Sure.
And if it starts sharply rising or something, then you make your decision from there. But you don't want to drop your $500 all at once, because then if the market goes down by another 5% or something, and it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, Bitcoin at some point is going to be worth $1 million, whether or not that takes 5 years or 10 years. Sure. It doesn't matter, because as people think of digital money, they think of, well, what stops somebody from typing on ones and zeros on a computer and just making more? And it's like, no, that's Federal Reserve. That's the
other system.
Yeah, that's the stuff you have in your pocket.
Right. Yeah, that's another blockchain.
Bitcoin is, it's a scam chain. Ain't nothing to that. Bitcoin is, you have 21 million coins that can be mined permanently forever. And that is constantly deflating because people die and they don't give their keys to anybody.
Yep.
So that Bitcoin can never be touched. Satoshi, the creator of Bitcoin, has 1 million coins that can never be touched. And so at this point, they've calculated at least 4 million, if not 6 million of the total supply is irrecoverable, can never be. So it's gone. So that means that there's only right now 12 million coins that people can own.
Right.
And I think the amount that gets mined is less and less every 4 years. And so it's a limited resource. And all the New World Order guys are into it. Mysteriously, they're all buying it up like crazy.
Right.
All buying it up like crazy. And of course the CIA, they want to dump stuff and be mad at El Salvador, the IMF.
That's the duality.
Obviously they had some Bitcoin too.
You know it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, let's just print themselves a couple billion Federal Reserve dollars.
Right.
Yeah, that made me think that whenever whenever Trump was on there and he was saying that whole thing of like, oh, this Bitcoin thing, I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah, you got money in it. We know.
Please.
We know.
You find out that a lot of the people that are down on Bitcoin, that the latest ones was the Shark Tank people. There's a couple of them that were like, oh, it's a scam, like a couple of months ago. And then you talk to them now and they're like, oh, Bitcoin's the greatest thing ever. I've actually been invested for 8 years. I was one of the early adopters, right?
Misdirection.
Yeah. Because obviously if you want the price cheap and you're somebody who's millions of people follow and you're a television personality, you don't want to actually say that you're in it. No, not if you're going to buy more, because the price is going to go up.
That's the psychology part.
Now you can't, Now, the only way I can fault them is you shouldn't have said that you weren't involved. You shouldn't have said that Bitcoin was bad a couple of months ago. I just wouldn't say anything, but I kind of be like, I got a couple of million I got to buy yet, and then we'll talk all about it.
Yeah, like I'm the silent partner here.
You better believe it.
Yeah,
even though I'm Max's handler, he's the silent partner.
That's right. So that's what's going on in the economy, cryptocurrency news, and everything else. And I think we're kind of, I don't know. What do you guys got to talk about that's new and exciting in the world?